All right, guys, welcome to the FAAB podcast. I'm really excited to have on here Mitch Tarr. Today, Mitch is our email guru, essentially, in the FAAB group. And I think he's going to bring a ton of knowledge for you guys listening today, not just for your own agency in email marketing, but obviously, helping the brands that you work with on their email strategy, guys. Email is not dead, and Mitch is here to teach us why it's definitely not dead. So Mitch is the owner and founder of Zin Marketing, and he's been focused on email marketing now as a specialty since 2008. He's the author of 2 books on email strategies. Both are found on Amazon, and he has 2 university level courses on email, which is fantastic. That's awesome. He's also delivered nearly 5,000 email campaigns in 104 industries, and his largest account managed 7.2 million names. That's one heck of an email list, Mitch. Right now, he's zoned in on the e-commerce space for his services, for his client services, and he is the owner of 3 separate Shopify stores. Mitch, that is one hell of a bio you got there.
Yeah, thanks very much. Seems I would be busy all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just one Shopify store is a lot, but 3 at one time is pretty phenomenal. So I'm really happy to have you on here. I think you're going to drop a ton of knowledge. So I'm just going to dive right into it if that's okay with you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. So first off, email marketing has been around since the dawn of the internet era in some way, shape, or form, really. And I mean, it's gone through a ton of changes, I would say, since its inception. In your opinion, how has email marketing changed in the past 10 years or, even more recent in the past 3 years?
Yeah, that's a good question because everyone has a perspective on email. Everyone's an expert. It's like I've eaten at a restaurant, therefore I can cook. And I've seen emails, therefore I can send them. And what's really changed over the years, 10 and 12 years ago, when I had my first Constant Contact account, emails were thought of as a newsletter, the way the old newsletters would be on paper. And so the designs were like that, the templates were like that. People wanted to send out something which was visually strong. And so one of the big things that has changed over the years is there's, now my design team will not like to hear this so much, but there's less emphasis on design and more actually on what people read and do. So it's nice to have a strong visual email, but that's not the thing that makes or breaks it. Like in all marketing, it's the message. So you have to be able to set the message up simply. And over the years, a lot of the softwares have made it easier to just produce nice, simple emails. So there's been a big transition kind of away from newsletter style emails towards very specific emails with a specific purpose. That's been one thing. Another change that we've seen is the robustness of the tools. So a lot of software allows you to send emails, and they all are competing with each other to be a little bit unique and a little bit different. So they've all taken a different stand. So the array of features available now is way more than there used to be. And the emails are getting smarter. You can do dynamic emails now that if somebody's on your email list and they're also on your SMS list, they would receive a different message than if they were on your email list, but you didn't have an SMS number. So it might have an invite at the bottom of the email that's inserted if the logic is there that someone doesn't have an email or an SMS in place. So, the tools are better. Email in the old days, 10 years ago, people were hostile to spamming messages. They were they had an issue with it, a deep-seated psychological issue. And now these days, there's enough people that understand, oh, that's a spam message. They delete it, report it, and they're on to their lives. They don't get so excited about it as they used to. And the spam filtering software is much more robust than it used to be. So they're, kind of keeping the garbage emails out of your folder for you. And Gmail has done a really good job of that particular.
They have. I check my spam, not as much as I should. but maybe like once every 2 weeks to a month. And I'm just like blown away by how much it catches. I'm like, I didn't want any of this. And I mean, I don't really know exactly how it works to catch all those things, but thank God, because it's all those things got through, I might go a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in Gmail's case in particular, it's behavioral now. So when a block of emails comes in, 10,000 emails from constant contact, Gmail knows that they're bulk email. And if they get opened and clicked and responded to, it says, oh, business as usual. Somebody's talking to their client base. If it gets spam complaints and no open rates and it bounces like crazy, Gmail says, oh, what do you know? Somebody's got a bad list. They haven't talked to them for a while. They don't maintain their list. They're pushing the envelope, and they treat them accordingly. So,
Yeah. Thank God for Gmail. All right. So I hear this one a lot. Isn't email marketing old school? Is email marketing dead, Mitch?
yeah, I've heard this. So interesting story. I haven't had Jay Abraham tell me to my face, Mitch, email is dead. You know that. At the same time, in the last 14 years, he's been working on making sure he has a robust email list. So it's kind of dead, but in the back of his mind, he has a position. I've
Yeah.
had Gary Vaynerchuk tell me to my face, Mitch, email dead. It's not going to be valuable for the wine industry too much longer. And that was about, when was that? 2008. And so when it was a book signing that I met him at. So when he signed his book, I said, keep an open mind, Gary.
Oh,
So
wow.
I kept an open mind, but all along the way, we RSS was the email killer, the first one. That it was going to be the end of email, and then Gmail is going to be, it's going to change how email takes place. And now the smartphones and SMS, it's going to be how the end of email. Even Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook, in one of her keynote speeches, is saying, yeah, email is not the future. It's going to be something else. Yet today, the strongest e-commerce stores have a strong email game, such that if they're doing it properly, 40% of their revenue comes from email. Now, if you're making $100,000 a year out of your store, another 40,000 a year is nothing to sneeze at. So,
No.
if you believe that email is dead, there's $40,000 you don't have access to. And, me, I'll take the 40.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. I think Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook may have some ulterior motives in, unhyping or deflating email, right? Because Facebook is all about pay us to reach your community, right? Like pay us on for ads so that we can reach your audience, right? Like organic traffic's completely dead. So they want to keep you kind of over in Facebook. But at the end of the day, people forget, like, you don't own the people on Facebook. You don't own
Yeah.
those communities. You can spend all day building your Facebook group, which I have done pretty successfully, and I'm really proud of my Facebook group. And if it was ever taken away from me, I might, cry. But at the end of the day, like, I accept that I don't own that Facebook group, and it can be taken away. Facebook can shut it down, and that's it. Email, you actually do own those emails, and so you while open rates may be lower than they used to be, you can still reach your audience at any time, and no one can ever take that away from you. So I think it's really important to maintain your email list, because it's the only thing that you actually do own without having to pay somebody for continual access for it.
Yeah. It's an asset for sure.
Huge, massive. So let's talk agencies a little bit. For all of those startup agencies and mid-sized agencies listening to us, what is the best way for agencies to use email marketing to generate clients for themselves?
I think there's two things that really stand out to me. So recently, like in the last couple of years, there's been a big move afoot to make cold email a viable channel.
Yeah.
And some people have gotten pretty good at it and can do pretty good lead generation with it. So if you have the fortitude to learn cold email and do it properly, that's the first touch. That can be the first touch point of a lead generation campaign. And now, I go back to the old days where we used to sit down and send them one at a time.
Yeah.
20 years ago, that's how we met people. or I'm on the phone one at a time. That's how we met people in the old days. So that's just a continuation of that. And there's a lot of robust strategies and places that can help you do cold email. So that's one way. But I think the second most valuable thing email can do for you in your agency marketing is from the moment that you capture a lead, and hopefully it's in the form of an email address or phone number, but from that moment forward, there has to be email speaking to those people. And I'm embarrassed to say that for a couple of years, our email game was not that strong. We would capture a lead and they would just sit there if they didn't sign up with us. So over the years, that list just kind of built and built and built, and we never did much with it. And a couple of years ago, we said, we do email, we should do it properly. So for our own selves, we built a whole bunch of automated flows that triggered if somebody did something. So if you came back to the website, if you downloaded a white paper, if you read a certain page, if you filled in a contact us form, depending on what action you took, there was a series of messages that are triggered based on that. And you would move from list to list based on what activity you took, so that all kinds of messages were sent to you automatically. And that really helped. We had people come back to us 8 months after they were an initial lead, just because they'd been reading our messages, they were interested enough to say, okay, now I need to talk to you. And so the lead wasn't good the first week that we met them, but 9 months later, they became customer. And it was only because during that 9-month period, we spent the time to keep in touch and remind them why we're a good agency, what capabilities we had. You'd see some case studies, you'd see some referrals, testimonials, like stories, just kind of, tips, anything. And that was something that we always know we had to do that. We never really did. So, no matter what you're doing as an agency, at a bare minimum, just send them something every week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But I have thoughts on both of your points. So on the first one, there's your cold email is definitely a viable channel today. We teach in the Done for Agency program 2 different methods of cold email. One is the old school sniper style, like find your perfect, client avatar and send them an email with a custom Loom video in it that says their name, and send 10 of those a day kind of thing. Then we also teach a more mass style method where we use Paracone leads, which is an email outreach software that helps reach people within different industries, different niches that agencies are targeting, with cold outreach emails to help get them in the pipeline, get some responses, and move forward in a more mass outreach instead of sniper style. Now the sniper style works really well because it's so custom that it impresses people, like, wow, you made the time to make me like a custom Loom video and maybe said my name. But the more Paracone leads with the more mass outreach also works well, just because it's a numbers game and you're able to get in more people that way. So we've seen people do really amazing things with cold outreach for their agencies when they're just consistent with it and they stay up on it. Second, on your point of making sure that you're in touch with your leads, like especially if you're paying for Facebook ads to get people through your funnel, right? Like you're spending a ton of money to get them in there. Most people aren't going to convert right away. Like most people need several touch points before they convert, whether it's, a 2 call close, 3 call close, or 3 calls and no close. And then they have to go through your drip sequence and they go through, your weekly emails for the next year before they finally say, okay, I'm in enough pain now where I'm going to go back and convert. If you weren't sending those regular emails and staying in touch with your base, then, all that money you spent to get that person in your pipeline is kind of worthless. So I completely agree. In fact, I do a daily email. So I have I believe a 12-day sequence that starts for everyone who joins my Facebook group. That's, just stock full of value and teaching and just free information, free high value information. And then that rolls right into, once that is complete, into a daily email sequence where every week we're pumping out new, free valuable information for them. So we hear all the time, when people join the program and people work with us that, I've been listening to your podcast now for several months, or I've been, reading your emails now for several months. And we find people that originally entered our pipeline like a year ago, and then all of a sudden they booked in another call, and then they become a client. And it's due to the fact that we built this ecosystem through our daily emails, through the podcast releases, through the Facebook group that continually puts content. And I'm a firm believer that email is a huge driver in that, because even if someone doesn't join the group or listen to the podcast, if we remind them that there is a group and a podcast in the emails, then they will expand eventually to those other markets.
Yep. Your emails are on point. I'm on the list.
Yay. Hey, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, I closely monitor it. I'll be honest, it was scary moving to a daily email when I did it, because I'm like, everyone is going to hate me. They're going to get so annoyed. They're going to unsubscribe. And I was shocked. Like, there was very little unsubscribes. They stayed in, the unsubscribe rate stayed really low, and people stayed engaged, and the open rate stayed good. And I'm just like, okay, good. This is working. So I kind of took that leap. I think I got the idea from .com Secrets with Russell Brunson in his book, when he was talking about like the Seinfeld emails and all that, several years ago. And I was just like, all right, let me take the leap, get the copy out there, and it works. All right. What does a normal agency email marketing service package look like? Like, what would be included in that, and for a brand? And what is a normal range of pricing that agencies charge for this service?
Let me do the pricing one first. I've seen pricing range from $1,000 a month on a retainer to $6,000 a month on a retainer.
Wow.
And what makes up that number seems to be three things. One of them is self-esteem of the agency.
Yeah.
How they value their services against the results.
100%.
Number two is the mix of services, how much automated flow, how much copy, frequency of email, how many campaigns on a monthly basis, so that, how much the service entails. And a third thing seems to be the size of the list. So if you have those things in combination, that's, will kind of dictate what the price is. What we have found, we do some of our pricing on a performance basis. And we find when the performance number starts to get up around 5,000, 6,000 a month, 7,000 a month, customers can't help but say, wow, look, I can just hire a full-time person for this amount of money. So for us, we just adjust our pricing so that it stays in the range of, customer expectation. And then we always remind them, like, well, you could get one person, but you can't get people that have the experience of our whole team.
Yeah.
Somebody that's a great copywriter, they might not be such a good designer. Somebody who's a great, amazing designer, copy might not be their strong suit. If they're an awesome designer, attention to detail might not be their thing, and getting the emails right is another issue. So, anyways, that's the price of the services we see. And service, they tend to bundle in probably three different areas as well. Like, one is the setup. Have I got all my flows running? For us, a typical client in Klaviyo usually has 8 to 10 flows when we're done the setup period. So, abandoned cart, browse abandoned, new customer, all flows based on behavior and actions. Yeah. So just setting up that whole infrastructure is fairly time intensive. So the setup is one thing. And then getting in the regular sequence of sending campaigns, do you send something weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Is it every day? Is it, certain events? Like on Father's Day, we do a 5 email series, but we might not do that on a Wednesday, for example. So,
yeah.
And then just kind of making email part of the marketing bundle in a company. It shouldn't be something off to the side that you do when you have time, or that you get around to. It's, you plan ahead, you put it in an editorial calendar, and we've already got June's emails written and in the bag. So right. we're in a couple of weeks, we'll start to think about July. So we're never rushed to get them done because there's a plan.
Yeah.
So the services would be based around that. People, I found, will hire an agency for one of two reasons. They either don't have the time to do it themselves and they know it. It's like, oh, I didn't get one out this week. I only sent out one email this month. My abandoned cart hasn't been looked at in 2 years. Just things like that. Or they know that they're missing out on money because they don't have the skill and they don't know what they don't know. They just know that they're only getting 7% of their revenues from email. And they hear all the stories about how they can get 40%, 50%. So they know, how do I do that? And then that's when you get an expert.
Yeah.
So those are the two driving motivators that we see most of the time.
I think that's really helpful for a lot of agency owners listening that are trying to, understand the motivation that the leads have behind hiring an agency for email and learning how to angle their pitch essentially for email as well. I think email is something that is often overshadowed by PPC. I think in a lot of agencies that are selling in the digital space, and I think it's something that should always be at least offered as an additional service, because like you said, without email in a PPC strategy, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. And so, like that 40K that you were talking about. And I think it's something that it could be an easy upsell for a lot of agency clients. And it could be just an easy add-on essentially for a lot of, PPC clients that come through agencies as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, all right. What do brands need most in email services from the agency?
Well, I think the biggest thing that brands kind of need to do that they're not doing is get in the segmentation mindset. So in the old days, I had a newsletter list and do you want to be on my newsletter list? And I'd make the offer all the time. And whether you were a customer, a repeat customer, or a complete stranger, my goal was to get you on the newsletter list. And now what brands need or should need is, all right, I've got people that buy from me frequently and often, and I need to know who those people are and how I can get more people like that. So, you start with the segmentation. VIP customers spend more than three orders a quarter. I treat them special. Then I've got my customers that spent one purchase only. And as time goes by, they become more and more strangers. So someone who bought one thing 1 year ago is not as valuable to you as someone who bought one thing last month. So you have to treat those people differently and get them moving to their second order. And then you've got the strangers. They don't know you. They haven't bought anything for you. So those people, you can't just hit them with discount, because they'll get bored of it after a while. You've got to tell them a story, get to know you a little bit, know the company, know the brand. So they might have had a passing interest in your product or service, but 3 months from now, they'll say, I have a really pretty good feeling about this brand. I think I can, I'll take the chance. And then they'll spend some money and then, boom, you got them as a customer. So just, switching the orientation from everything's a newsletter to now I've got VIPs, customers, one time only, and strangers. And, all my messaging is based on, that segmentation. That's the biggest thing we see all the time when we come into a new account.
Makes sense. And it sounds like it's going to be a lot more efficient than just, bulking out a newsletter all the time. So this, I know, is a question that's on a lot of people's minds when it comes to email, because there are so many different softwares out there. But I guess, what is the best software to use when you're doing email outreach? There's a ton out there. So what are your top recommendations?
Well, this is a good question, because in the various forums that I'm in and groups, Facebook groups I'm in, there's always a bun fight. Somebody has a favorite and they toss it out there, and then then the conversation starts, and then what they normally don't do is the very first question is, what do you think your needs are? You're going to do email. What do you think is going to be important? So if you're thinking about which product to choose, you would want to say, well, why, what things do I want to do with email? Because they all do things a little bit different, but they all still do the same thing. They get an email from your desktop to somebody's inbox. And
Yeah.
if you're in the business, you can do that. So MailChimp's been around for 100 years. Constant Contact's been around 200 years. Active Campaign, all of those types of systems are fine. We like Klaviyo personally, being in the business. The reason we like Klaviyo is philosophically they've made the decision that they want to be the center of the client record. So their integration game is strong. You can hook Klaviyo up to all kinds of software and the client record comes back to Klaviyo. So a good example is if you're using customer service software and somebody's on your customer service software, they open a ticket, they're mad at you, you don't want to be sending them a, hey, 15% off this weekend message when they're, livid. So with the
Yeah.
integration with Klaviyo, because they have a strong integration, you set so that, all right, if you've opened a ticket, stop all the marketing messages to this person. And as long as that ticket is in status open, no marketing messages. And when the ticket is closed, send a couple of follow-up messages to close off the ticket in a nice, friendly way. And then 7 days later, turn on marketing messages again. So just having that little thing integrated can make for better customer experience and one that makes more sense. They get messages because otherwise you get a message from your ship station, get a message from transactional from Shopify, you get a message from your customer service software, get an email message. They get customers getting a variety of messages, transactional and marketing and support. They all look different. They all feel different. And that's a very different customer experience to one that they get one type of message that looks the same and comes at the appropriate time. So we like Klaviyo for that reason.
I love it. It sounds very intuitive, especially for e-commerce clients. Personally, I use Active Campaign right now and absolutely love it for the purposes that I'm using it for. It's been really great.
Yeah. And when we started our agency, as an agency, we thought we're going to be software agnostic. We're going to, it doesn't matter what you use, we'll use your software. So we got really good at the beginning at using all those different types of software. What we didn't get good at is having a deep relationship with a software vendor that can help on a customer's behalf, because things always go wrong. There's always something. And you really need, a little deeper relationship with the software vendor. And Klaviyo has been good for that as well. So it doesn't matter if you're Active Campaign, if you have a rep, you have somebody to talk to, that's going to help your client because they're in your corner.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. God, I just wish Facebook could get better at their whole at their whole rep status. All right. How do you get it right? How do you get email marketing right? How do you prevent mistakes?
Yeah, we've wrestled with that a lot because people, when they hire you as an agency, they hold you to a much higher standard than they themselves hold. So they can make mistakes all day long and they'll just go, oh, darn, I made a mistake. But if you send out a typo or a broken link, they go nuts.
Yes.
So, so the thing that we do, us in particular, we've developed like a checklist, an email launch checklist. So, it's basically a QA list. It's got about 12 or 14 items on it. And whoever is responsible on the team for sending the email, you basically have to go through and say, yeah, we did the spell check on the document. We did the send test. We tested the email for all the different softwares. We tested the layout. We tested it on a smartphone. Particularly important these days. The number of emails that I see that are bad outright, you can't even read them on a smartphone. It makes me crazy. Like I've got my beautifully designed template and I send it out and then on a phone, it's like, I can't read that. So half your audience can't see your message. Anyway, it's a pet peeve.
Half nowadays, most.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
So, and before an email goes out, we send it to, we actually use the production system, not the test system to send it. And then we see what grabs it and we see how it looks and we just basically do it. And if we make a change to an email, a customer has last minute, oh, I changed my mind. I wanted, a different button or I wanted to say something else. We go through the whole checklist again. We don't just make the one change and send it because no matter, you fix the one thing, you've potentially introduced a new thing. So we make it, and really it's just a matter of, it's intentional to run the checklist. So slow it down. Kids these days, they're so skilled at click, 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 send. And it's like, whoa, 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 you just did 12 clicks in a row in 8 seconds. And I guarantee you that you didn't actually read the sentence that had the link in it. So
Yep, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've written an email, read it like within the platform, like within Active Campaign, sent the test to myself, and then found the error
yeah,
in the test send. And so it's just like, you got to have multiple eyes on these types of things.
yeah,
That QA checklist, like it's the same thing that pilots do before they take off,
yeah,
plane. It's the same thing that a lot of industries do to ensure safety of customers and clients. It's a proven method. It works really, really well. So in terms of reaching the inbox, we talked earlier about how Gmail's spam filter game is strong. Today, can you reach the inbox steadily, consistently? And what are your tips to ensure that you do?
So the first thing is, don't even bother trying to game the system. Quite often customers come to us, we say, hey, where'd you get this list from? And it's like, oh, these are our best customers. And I look through the list and it's info at, sales at, spam and trap at. I'm like, those are not your best customers. This list is from somewhere. It's not, So when you try to game the system is, they've been fighting spam for 20 years now. So there's some, they'll get you, they'll find out. So don't even try to game the system. The good thing about e-commerce is your brand customers, they want to hear from you. They don't not want to hear from you. They, if you don't abuse the relationship, you'll have a good one.
They at
So
least want their receipt.
Yeah. So just think of it, there's real people at the other end of that message, and they got real lives, and they get real messages from you. And if you're good at it, you send good stuff, then you'll be in the inbox most often. I'll give you a secret. This is an agency thing, but if you're not doing it, you should do it. Once a month, we send something called an inbox campaign. And an inbox campaign is an email that poses a question that the customer has to reply to the message back to you. It must hit the reply button. So we're thinking, hey, we were thinking of doing a new color on our shoe line, and we got a black and we might got a white one. Have you got an opinion? Would you like one or the other? Just shoot me a message.
Yeah.
And by virtue of the fact that you send the message, it gets opened, and then people start hitting the reply button. You're sending the message to Gmail. Hey, we're not mailing strangers, we're mailing our best customers, and they're emailing us back. So you don't want to get in the middle of that, would you, Gmail? You don't want to get people from talking to us. And it just bumps your reputation a little bit, and essentially whitelists those people that are replying back to you. And if you do that often enough and well enough, more and more of your message will move over from promotions to inbox, because Gmail will say, you know what, whoever that is sending, this person wants to talk to them. They've replied to 3 of the last 8 emails and they click on everything. I think I'll just send that straight to the inbox. And so it helps, but we do it as a part of our campaign strategy. Is once a month, we send something called inbox campaign. You have to reply to the message.
So I'm really happy to hear you say that, because I'm doing that, but not for the reason that you taught. So I just learned that we're doing that and having this extra benefit of what our campaign, but we do that about twice a month right now. And we'll send just a straight question to our audience. I'll create, a new document that teaches agencies how to do something, whether in lead gen and sales and outreach, what have you, and I'll ask them if they would be interested in it, if they would like me to send it. And I don't send it in the email, so they have to reply in order to get it. It's free, of course, but that allows us to open up real conversations with our lists and actually have real genuine conversations about where they're at. I think the last one we asked was, where are you at in your agency right now in terms of your growth, and where would you like to be? Just real conversational. And what it does, it increases a ton of reply rates. I guess, like you're saying, it helps feed that algorithm, lets them know you're a good guy, essentially. And for us as an agency, it allows us to have like real genuine conversations with our clients and actually, get a lot more leads that way and actually put people into the pipeline and then help them solve their problems. So it's a genuine outreach tactic that works really well. And, on both the lead gen side and I guess the algorithm side. It was really cool. All right. Email, SMS, or messenger?
Yes.
All three.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where people are getting a little too serious about, picking a path. If you offer all three or two of the three, you're not trying to replace the other one, but supplement the other one. So for example, in some of our sites and some of our brands, when the visitor comes in on a mobile phone, we offer them the SMS option on the pop-up. So it's a one-click option for them to opt in, and then they're into the welcome series on a phone, and they're tagged as a mobile messenger. We don't try, when they come in on an SMS medium to ask for an email address. We don't fight it. You came in on a phone, let's take advantage of that. If you come in on a desktop, we don't say, oh, well, you're here, can we have your phone number? We don't mix and match the two. We just say you're on a desktop, therefore we're going to be asking email address.
Well, don't you collect both of those at checkout anyway, though?
At checkout, yes. But I'm thinking in terms of the step before on trying to capture the contact information at some point.
Right. Okay.
So.
That makes sense. Yeah, they all are complementary to each other, and it just really depends on the platform they came in on, which might be best for them.
Yeah.
Marketing channel. Yeah. Really good answer. Should agencies and brands focus on list growth most?
I don't know how people got away from this, but one of the key metrics that we look at every day is how many new people on the list, and as a percentage of your traffic, how efficient are you at collecting names? Have you got a good reason for it? Is there a good offer? Is it good enough to get people to give up an email address? And paying attention to that can make a difference between literally a 1% opt-in rate and a 10% opt-in rate. And it's the same old story. Day one doesn't mean that much. Day two, not that much. Day 5, a little bit more. Day 10, month 10, year 2. At the end of year 2, a 10% opt-in rate versus a 1% opt-in rate is literally money, lots of money that was not, you didn't capture because you didn't capture the contact information of that elusive visitor. They were there and they were gone because, that means, 90%, even if you have a 4% conversion rate, that means 96% are gone. And if your remarketing game is strong, still 90% are gone.
Yeah.
And if you're not capturing email, SMS, another 10% of those visitors never to be seen again. They don't get to develop a relationship. So it's
in
really
terms
important.
of retargeting too, like with Facebook and the new iOS update, retargeting based on pixel traffic is becoming very sparse. Like I'm just even noticing my own retargeting specifically on, we have our retargeting ad sets broken down. One of them is, retargeting all web traffic 90 days. So whether you hit our lander, our opt-in page, but didn't opt in, as long as you triggered the pixel, then you'll get retargeted. Well, after iOS, now, if they did that, but they didn't opt in and give us their email address, those people can't be retargeted, period. They're not considered, in our retargeting pool. So one of our other retargeting pools is it retargets them dynamically from the email address that they gave us, which can work around the iOS, I guess, a little bit more, but it's just that much more important to capture your email, because even if you can't retarget them on Facebook platform, you'll be able to send them emails and technically retarget them there. But if you didn't get them to opt in, that's it,
Yep.
That's it. All right. So we talked about segmenting earlier. Should you do segmenting, or can you send a newsletter to everyone? I think we already talked about this a little bit, but can you go into a little bit more detail about how segmenting works?
Yeah, this is still prevalent out there. People have the impression sometimes that if I send one email with one thing in it, that's good. If I send one email with 3 things in it, that's better. If I send an email with 10 things in it, that's better. If I send an email with 20 things in it, that's better. And if I send an email with 20 things in it to everybody, somebody will buy something.
Yeah.
But that's not really marketing.
No.
So
Fire hose marketing.
yeah. So we found that, the old days of send one email to everybody that hopes that somebody will buy something. A good example we have recently, a customer that has that mindset, and they're sending long emails with lots of stuff. But we said, we'd like to do something different. Humor us. Just let us take your one monster email and break it into 3 emails. So instead of sending one email on a Tuesday, we're going to send it one Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're going to take the first 3 items and send it in the first email, and the middle 3 items and send them in the second email. So basically, we're going to turn one email into 3.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, it's sold like crazy, because the clicks at the top of an email, they're always the things that give you the most clicks. If you look at your click reports, the first 5 clicks in an email is where all the action is. By the time you get to the bottom, there might be one guy who's still around. Oh, I clicked on that,
So you're saying that you should put your links higher up in the body copy instead of at the end of your body copy?
Personally, I like to have one link above the fold, especially on a phone. That's a convenience link. Then depending on what I'm doing, I make my case, I show a picture, pictures linked, and then, I got a captions linked, and then I've got my benefits and offer, and then offers buttoned and or linked. So, the first 5 links in the email as close to the top as possible, and they're all to the same offer, the same thing. So we have a kind of unwritten rule: one email, one offer.
Yeah, well, the same thing, our emails, they always have the same call to action. But I'm trying to, asking for a friend here, you would put your call to action above the fold. So meaning that you can click on it before you'd ever have to scroll.
Yeah.
If you're just going to put one link, let's say you're going to put one link in your email, you would put it near the top before you have to scroll.
You mean if my choice was only one link and no other text links or image links or button links?
Yeah.
No, I'd make the case first. Even if it's a short email, I'd make the case before my call to action button.
Okay, so it's still, your call to action button would still be at the bottom of the email copy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. All right. I don't have to change my whole strategy now. Okay, great. And then finally, let's talk. What is your single best tip for agencies doing email marketing for their clients?
I've got one thing in mind. This has never failed us. And we had a client a long time ago. It's probably 8 years now. And they were a supplement company, and they would write a fairly lengthy, medically correct, detailed, feature-laden article about their supplement every month. And they would send it to their list. And at the very bottom of the email, they would have an offer that would be like a tear-off coupon. So 15% off your order. And this email was their bread and butter for email marketing. They made about, give or take between $4,000 to $6,000 a month off of this email. Nice. And I said, I'd like to do something different. I'd like to send your newsletter out just as a newsletter. They can click to the website if they want, but there's no offer in the newsletter. The newsletter stops when you finish telling your story. So it's a straight give. Here's information, would like you to know this. And that offer that was hidden at the bottom of the email, and it was fairly lengthy. It might have been the equivalent of a one-page Word document, was that a couple hundred words? But it was good information. It had good open rates, and generally some click-throughs, 4,000 to 6,000 a month. So we split it into 2 emails. On Tuesday, we sent the informational emails. They could click if they wanted to, but there was no offer in the email anymore. The customer really didn't want to do it. On Thursday, we sent an email. It was just the offer. Hey, you're a special customer, and the coupon was just the offer. The whole email was about the coupon. So it was super short, super precise, really strongly worded, a direct response style email. just by separating those two things and sending 2 emails instead of 1, and that's not even talking about sending to unopens and all the other fun things you can do, resending the email to unopens.
Mhm.
That email changed from producing 4 to 6 to $40,000 to $50,000 a month. Nothing else changed.
Wow. So, and it was the direct response email that generated all that revenue, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you see the open rates on the original newsletter that you segmented out plummet, or
Nope.
what was the metrics there?
So the open rate, as I recall, it was around 26% to 30% typically. So it was a good email to read. People liked reading it. The email stayed on the informational email at 26%, but the offer email also opened at 26%. So the difference was between 26% of people reading down to the bottom and drifting off till the last remaining, 3 people were reading the offer by the time they got through all of the whole thing, versus 26% of people reading the offer right there and making the decision, oh, do this or don't do this.
So the direct response email was pretty short then.
Very short.
Very short. And it was just like, you're a special customer. We want to reward you for that. Here's X% off. Click here to claim it, kind of thing.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
so the lesson in there is to separate your newsletter and your promo offer emails.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
And I see lots of people have a pattern. Like some people like to send 2 informational messages and 1 offer type message. So there's a balance between information and offer, and that's okay. Some of our customers are very aggressive. They're just all offer all day long. And some customers are more of a relationship, intermittent. Here's some information. Here's the link to a blog. Here's the link to a podcast, kind of help you out with showing you who we are. And then, oh, by the way, next Tuesday there was an offer as well. So, and they all work for different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Email's not dead. Email's not dead.
Not dead.
Well, thank you so much, Mitch, for spending this hour with me and talking with me about email marketing. I think it's something that is, continually, like you said, it's continually claimed that it's dead and it's overlooked. And I think it's a staple of the digital marketing world. And it's something that agencies should lean more into, because it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It's just changing. The software is getting better. There's more opportunities out there for agencies to get leads from it. And there's more opportunities for agencies now than ever to use it for their brands to get better results. So it's a no-brainer.
Yep, sign me up.
Gotta go email. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I think you dropped a ton of knowledge. And so, we'll have to do this again sometime, maybe in another 5 years when email is completely different again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good one.